Um, so the purpose indicator is they measure the impact at the end of the program execution. The component indicator associated with the technical specification of each of the program's components. They represent the goods and services associated with the project, and the activity indicator are associated with the physical, human, and financial resources available to the program. So, as you can see here, the indicator has levels, each indicator, and also a logic, right? So, in the case of the indicators, we are measuring impact. In the case of the purpose indicator, we are essentially measuring execution, and also in the components and activity, we're also measuring like execution of the projects. Then we can see, we remember the matrix, the means of verification, and also the assumption. So in the means of verification, we are talking about instruments. They are the instrument, the forms, or the routes to measure what is indicated in the indicators. In addition, they are essential input for monitoring and evaluating the program links. The means of verification must be available, low cost, timely, and relevant. Some standards of proof can be surveys, studies, direct observation, and financial controls. So we are talking here about evidence, right, of the achievement of the indicator. In this case, and also finally, as we see here in the logical framework matrix, we have the column of assumptions. It is a very interesting column, as you can see later. The assumptions, they are aspects beyond the team's control that condition its action and are necessary for the realization of the project. In this regard, um, there are three types of assumption. Positively, which allows the completion of the program. Negative aspects that can ruin the project and force its modification. Or neutral, elements that do not affect the realization of the project. Therefore, if there is a possibility that any assumption is not met, it becomes a risk. Therefore, the design of the premises itself must be as detailed as possible, have probability assessments on its concretion or not, and have constant monitoring and control throughout the life cycle of the project. So as you can see, this column is essentially a risk management, right, of the things that are important to carry out to complete the logical framework matrix. So in this slides I showed you, we are essentially looking for concepts, etc., about the logical framework. So we are going to see three examples today, so we can understand better. But about the concept, the columns, etc., the question. Does anyone has any question about this logical framework matrix in the conceptual way? Anyone? Or is all clear conceptually? Someone? Questions? Okay, so remember we have here our matrix, the end, the purpose, the components, the activities, and also the columns, the indicator, the verification, and also the assumption. So it's a little bit tricky to show here in the PowerPoint slides some logical framework matrix because it tends to be very big. So we are going to see it in three ways. First, I'm going to show you a video of Terry Smith. He's an expert in this kind of things that he's developing with a group, a logical framework of dogs, in this case in San Diego. So it's a very understandable example, so you can look at it. And also we are going to see two other examples of a logical matrix of Colusa Inc. and also of Las Margarita. That was the two cases that we saw in the last two classes. So I'm going to put here a video of Terry Smith doing a logical framework with the case of San Diego dogs.
Let's join a live workshop I recently conducted at a Project Management Institute conference in San Diego. You'll enjoy watching how this group used a logical framework to develop an action plan in less than 10 minutes. I've added some in-studio commentary to the live action to reinforce some of the key ideas. We use a planning tool called the logical framework. It may seem complicated at first, but it's actually quite simple and logical. It's based on 4 questions which help us to define and align the various project objectives, identify measures of success and how we're going to verify, spot the risks and assumptions, and develop a more complete action plan. So the first question we'll ask is, what are we trying to accomplish and why? And we're trying to accomplish objectives, and we will arrange those objectives into a hierarchy of outcomes, specific deliverables, and if outcomes then purpose, a higher level objective, if purpose, then goal. Because every project has multiple objectives. We will then ask, how will we measure success at each of these levels? How will we know in advance that we've achieved these objectives? We'll come up with measures, quantity, quality, time, cost, customer, as well as verifications, the means of determining the success measures. Then we're going to ask, what other conditions must exist? What assumptions do we have to make for this if-then logic to be valid? The fourth question is, how do we get there? Now, in my experience, most people jump prematurely to the fourth question. That's like trying to paint the house before you've built it. So let's join the live workshop in progress. I'll periodically come back and add some interpretation and some cleaner handwriting so you can follow the logic. Example of the logical framework, and we have an interesting suggestion from one of the participants here, has to do with dogs. So all dog lovers, how many dog lovers do we have in here? Perfect. Woof, woof, woof. So the goal, I think we stated as?
Reduce the number of dogs euthanized.
Reduce the number of dogs euthanized. Great. So what do we have to do in order to reduce the number of dogs euthanized?
Increase the number of dogs adopted.
Great. Increase number of dogs adopted in, shall we say, San Diego County?
Sure.
San Diego County. Great, so we begin to structure the hierarchy of objectives. What's one of the outcomes, one of the things that we can make happen that would lead to this benefit?
Provide vet training for dogs that are difficult to place.
Okay, and another one?
Increase awareness of pets that are available for adoption.
Okay, let me start with that. Increase awareness of pets for adoption. And the second one was, again?
Provide pet training for dogs that are difficult to place.
Provide pet training for dogs difficult to place. Okay, what we've done, we've established a hierarchy of objectives. All right, welcome back. The group came up with a hierarchy of objectives of the form if-then. So basically it says if we do certain tasks, which we call inputs, we can provide these outcomes, increased adoption and training. If this will accomplish a purpose, increase the number of dogs adopted, and contribute to the goal of reducing the number that's euthanized. So with that structure, with that hierarchy of objectives, we can come back now and answer question number 2. What does success look like at each of those levels? I'd like everybody to help me here, coming up with some measures. what does this look like? How would we measure that we've reduced the number of dogs euthanized? Again, looking for quantity, quality, and time. Anybody?
Look at past statistic.
Say again?
Past statistic.
Okay, past statistic would be a means of verification. So let me structure a measure here that in the year 2012, the number of dogs euthanized is reduced.
By 20%.
Okay, what, by a percent or reduced from X to Y or 20%. Okay, means of verification for that would be,
Measure the number of dogs used.
right, so it would be,
Measure 2011, measure 2012.
right, okay, so medical records. Medical records is the place where they euthanize. Good, 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 good. All right, increased number of dogs adopted in San Diego County. That's pretty similar as well. That in 2012, the number of adopted dogs increased from X to Y. Verification of that would be adoption records. Woof. Okay, welcome back. Let's add the success measures the group developed. At the goal level, reducing the number of dogs euthanized by a certain number during the year. At the purpose level, increasing the number adopted. At the outcome level, measures there as well. 30% increase in the number of calls would be a good indicator of increased awareness of pets adopted and training and so forth. So these measures, along with verifications, provide the basis by which we'll track implementation success as well as evaluate after the fact how successful our effort has been. Now let's add the third question. What other conditions must exist? This gets into assumptions and risk factors. Back to live action. All right, creative group, I'm impressed. So if these outcomes, we can achieve this purpose, provided that what? What assumptions do we have to make to go from here to here?
Training works.
That the training is effective, that the training works. Otherwise, people are going to take the dog home. I can't deal with this dog, bring it back.
That the marketing works.
That the marketing works, okay?
That people prefer adopted dogs, or that they're willing to adopt a dog?
Yes. People are willing to adopt let's say, a bad dog. Okay. Now, what could you do to reduce that risk, to influence that assumption?
Let them know that you trained them and that they've improved and...
Good, 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 good. So that might be part of this awareness program.
More exposure to the dogs in Humane Society.
More exposure.
People more opportunities to see them or interact with them.
Yes. Okay. So you might have, what do you call it? Open day? What do you call open day?
Open house.
Open house. Open house. Open dog house day. Open house for dog days. For Dogs Day. Okay. Good.
Incentives?
Huh?
And could we give incentives too, like free training or free?
We actually have it, and we do provide pet training for dogs that are difficult to place. All right, so if this, then this, if this, then this. What additional assumptions? Now, there's a whole bunch of activities that we have to put in place in order to produce these outcomes. Looking at this set of outcomes, what are some of those activities?
Cooperation with the penal facility.
Good, good. That the penal facility will cooperate. Okay, what else?
Well, at the very beginning, that you're in a geographical area that's dog friendly. There's like Boston loves dogs, other parts of the country don't.
Yeah,
So you would want to make sure that you're in an area that actually...
That you're in a dog friendly area. Okay, can you Can we think of a place that isn't dog friendly?
Yeah.
My apartment? I'm just kidding.
Your apartment. Oh, okay, so we're gonna be in a dog friendly area. A dog friendly area. Excellent. Okay, any others?
Trainers are available?
Good. Trainers available. Trainers available at no cost, huh?
Yes.
So does that suggest the need for another outcome on a trainer recruitment program?
Yes.
Good. So we have trainer recruitment. Excellent.
How about funding for the marketing awareness program?
We can get funding for marketing awareness. Funding for marketing.
And training.
Marketing and training. Okay, good. So let's take a look. I think we got good assumptions there. We'll come back and test a few of those. If we increase the number of dogs adopted in San Diego, we can reduce the number euthanized, assuming that what?
No, they are adopted.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear measure, isn't it? Assuming, let's say, that there's no change in the euthanization policies. All right. The group identified a set of assumptions. We're in a dog-friendly area, volunteers available. They had identified assumptions that impact each level. The training works. People are willing to adapt a bad dog. The goal level, no major change in policies. So there's what I call the implementation equation. We can test our project in advance by saying, if we do these tasks and these assumptions are valid, we'll produce these outcomes. That helps us to identify other missing elements, other pieces we need to add to it in the beginning. We then go on to say, if these outcomes and these assumptions, and assumptions are factors we can't always control, then we'll accomplish this purpose. If this purpose and assumptions, then the goal of reduce the number of dogs euthanized. Now, as you've seen, that group had a lot of fun developing that example. They contributed all their ideas, but more importantly, it created a shared understanding of the big picture. And that's so necessary in the kind of projects that you and I engage in to get a shared understanding at the higher levels, to identify success in advance, to identify the risks before we drill down into the details. This brief demonstration showed the power of the logical framework to help groups get aligned around a common measurable goal, identify how to get there, and spot the risks in advance.
The logical framework's proven ability to help people and organizations get better results make it a natural choice to unlock solutions to your most important issues.
So, participants, what do you think of the video and the example of this logical framework in the case of dogs here? Well, they're in San Diego. Questions, comments, etc. Andrew, Go, Lawrence, Philip. Yes, Joseph.
My observation, based on my prior understanding of the logical framework, I'm basically monitoring evaluation training. I have a little difficulty with what were identified as outcomes. Right? My understanding is outcomes speaks to behavioral change, and of almost often presented in the past tense. So on the outcomes, there's increased awareness of pet adoption and training provided for adopting owners and dogs. This doesn't sound to me like an outcome. Like I said, outcome speaks to behavioral change. So instead of training provided, it should be trainer or own dog. In this case, let's say owners are more open to adoption or adopting dogs, because the training is an output training should be an output, it should say something like 100 parents or 100 owners trained on adopting dogs, which is an output that is measurable, right? And the outcome should be something like trainers or owners having a greater appreciation or better prepared to deal with dogs, something of that line. So while I understand the concept and I understand how to execute the exercise, I just have an observation as it relates to what are identified as outcome. And of course, I don't see output, but the outcomes looks more like outputs.
Okay, it's a very good question. Let's see. Remember this. This is very important. Well, let's see. Essentially, the components or output in the example, Mr. Terry couldn't like outcomes, but well, essentially the components or outputs are the specific objective of the project, right? Remember, this is not this is an exercise of planning the project, not necessarily an exercise of evaluating, right? It's a matrix of planning, not of evaluation. But the important thing, wait a minute, we have one participant. Okay. Remember that the important thing, Joseph, in this case is that specific objectives become the components or the output. So in this case, in the case of the example, we have essentially two components or two specific objectives: the increased awareness of pets for adoption and the training provided to adopting owners and dogs. We can discuss the reduction of the outcomes. I think your example of reduction is good, but essentially the important thing is these components or outputs or outcomes in this case are the specific objective of the project. Is the main idea. The inputs in this case we also call it activity. So this is development ads and use of social media are like the activity that we are going to achieve to complete our specific objective. In this case, increase awareness of pets and train provide for adopting owners. But well, I understand your question. For me, the best answer here is remember that these outcomes or components or outputs are the specific objective of the project.
Thank you.
All good. Thank you.
Sir.
Any other question or comments of the example? What do you think of this
implementation equation? We can test.
What do you think of this zigzag reading of the matrix? What do you think of it? Anyone? Just a comment of this zigzag way to read the matrix. For you, it is good. It is useful using this zigzag way to look the framework matrix.
Good morning.
Yeah.
I think the matrix is very good. It gives you a guideline to measure against what you have planned and to where you want to go to in terms of reaching your goals. It's something that I am a project manager, so I use something like this in terms of planning and try to keep projects in terms of the goal, in terms of quality. This helps keep you in line if you're going off the partner, and in case you need to add any inputs to gain the desired goal.
Very good, Andrew. Thank you. And also remember this. Remember last class we talked about the stakeholder analysis, right? So the analysis of the groups that are involved in this project. So, for example, in this case, there is an assumption, no major change in policies. In the stakeholder analysis, it was important to identify the government as a group, right? And also check the position of the government in this kind of policies, because if we saw that the government is going to change the policy, I don't know, maybe not euthanizing at all or increasing the number of dogs euthanized, maybe we have here a risk, right? In which our goal, our purpose is going to be affected because maybe the government is going to change the policy. So in this case, it is very important for us to remember the stakeholder analysis, and also to have it here for some risk management, right? Another question or comment in this zigzag view. I don't know if Joseph wants to do another comment because the raised hand. Okay, you lower the hand. Another comment in this case, in this zigzag view of the logical matrix, or in general of this example, or everything is good. Lawrence, Philip, Renee, Raya, Samantha, Trevor, Taylor. Any comment in this example? Okay, well, we're going to see later 2 more examples. Okay, Samantha says in the chat, no comments. Thank you, Samantha. So we're going to see 2 examples later, the one of Colusa and also the one from Las Margaritas. But first, let's take a little recess to go to the bathroom, take a coffee, etc. See you in 15 minutes. Welcome back, participants. Are we here?
Yes, we are here.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to share my screen to see another two examples of this logical framework matrix. So let's see. Okay. Remember our Colusa Inc. example, right? We have here the objective 3 of the Colusa Inc. that we saw back then. So we have this objective 3, right? Remember the decrease in customer complaints, extend the after-sales service, improve quality product and service, decrease in price of products and services, improve productivity, decrease raw material prices, optimal and on-time product perform, increase product longevity, personnel with service attitude, staff train and evaluate to provide customer service, and also the N3. So we have increased customer purchase, improved company image, strengthening of the company's competitiveness, increased workforce motivation, increasing market share, and increasing profit. So this was the objective 3 of the Colusa Inc., right? Remember also the problem 3 back then was this, then this transformed to this, and then they perform the logical framework matrix. So in this case, here it is important. Next, in this step, we take the work of the problem and objective 3 together with the analysis of alternatives to outline the relationship of the strategy or optimal alternative with the objectives and actions. In the analytical project structure, or APS, we began to build a hierarchical level relationship that is addressed in the logical framework matrix. The organization of the level in the APSIS as follows, okay? For level of activities, outputs, purpose, and goal, right? And starting from the fourth level, the goal of the project is extract from the top of the objective 3. So in this case, they established 3 goals. Remember the objective 3 here, right? This 3-1. The purpose is the central objective of the objective 3. It remains the same. The outputs or the components are the result of having executed strategies of alternative analysis. And finally, for the first level, we define the most relevant activities to execute the strategies and deliver the outputs. So this is like a meet objective 3. In this case, here they also add the result of the alternative analysis to amplify it a little bit objective 3 and to make it like a little bit more specific, establishing some outputs or components in this case. So this remains the same, the purpose remains the same, and the outputs that are the general objective or the component. They established training program of after-sale staff in technical knowledge, training program of after-sale staff in customer services, program for mystery shopping, option for rating of service provide, implement through an end-of-call survey, option to create a website with WordPress on Joomla, and SAP method implement in the organization and main knowledge of hierarchical levels. And they establish a little bit of activities also. We have here, I know I'm going to make the screen a little bit bigger. So we have here some activities, research and document technologies and trends, prepare training material logistic, conduct training for after-sales staff, develop mystery shopper call, set call dates and personnel per date, record service ratings for call, implement rating scoring mechanism of on-call, negotiate with WordPress and Joomla, implement options to create WordPress and Joomla webs, voice app method books, deliver books to managers and directors, etc. So this particular 3 is a mix between the objective 3, and also adding some projects of the project selection strategy that they determined. So this finally goes into here. This is the logical framework matrix in this case. So we have here 3 goals as the ones in the objective 3. So increasing profit, market share growth, and increased motivation of the workplace. I have a comment in the chat. Let me see before I begin. Then the name of this tree is essentially an objective tree, right? We remember it's basically the same. But they also add a little bit more of these components of these outputs based on the analysis of the alternatives of solution, right? So before, well, at first they established the problem tree, then they made the alternative of the solution, the solutions alternatives. Then we have here the objective 3, and finally they mix it up, right? They mix this, the objective 3, with the alternatives of solution to make the outputs a little bit more specific. That then they are going to become components or outputs in the logical framework. So we have here the goal, 3 goals, the purpose, the outputs or the components, training program after sales, mystery clients, service rating options implement through end of code and email survey, WordPress and Joomla, and sub methods implement in the organization and may be able to hierarchical levels, and a lot of activities, right, that are here in this, essentially these ones. So we have here the project narrative, right? Then they start delivering the objective verification indicators, then the means of verification of the indicators, and finally the assumptions. So we have here the finished logical framework. In the case of Colusa, it's a little bit big. I'm going to put also the link in the chat to, you can see it and study it a little bit. Let's see it. Some cases, for example, in the decrease in complaints and claims made by customers, that is our purpose, no, the main objective. The indicators are reduction of complaints and claims, and also an increase in compliments and highlights. The means of verification are consolidated physical and virtual mailbox, employee reports, and social media messages, and an assumption that there is a supplier service continuity plan in place. So if they have a supplier service continuity plan in place, and they consolidate physical and virtual mailbox, they may reduce the complaints and claims, and finally decrease in complaints. That is the purpose, right? Let's see another example. For example, here we have this one, number 5, a little bit bigger. We have here WordPress and Joomla web service creation option implemented in custom portal. The means of verification are site creation tests with WordPress and Joomla, and customer satisfaction level of WordPress and Joomla. In this case, the evidence are weekly digital logs of tests, customer satisfaction survey, fill out, and mailbox in the media, and some assumptions. In this case, WordPress and Joomla developers agree to absorb this service through us, obtaining benefits at a fair price. This is, for example, a component or an output in the case of this thing. And we have a lot of activities that you can see here, and also the means of verification, well, the indicators. Some of them are monetary, right? So in the case of prepared training, material, logistic, attendance, etc., they establish an indicator of $65 and an evidence of invoices for what was purchased and evidence of it used during the training, For example, in this activity, we have here a lot of activity, right? So this is the let's see, make it a little bit bigger. The final logical framework in the Colusa Inc. Example is, as you can see, big, also complex, maybe, but well, it's an example of the problem 3 and the objective 3 that we discussed before in these classes. So, comments about this Colusa Inc. framework matrix. Okay, people, questions, comments? It's a little bit big. Someone? Andrew, Anisha, Lawrence, Philip, Ria, Taylor, Scarlett. Do you understand this logical framework matrix? Is clear?
I believe it's clear.
Thank you very much, Ria. Thank you, John. Lawrence says in the chat, I don't have any questions. It's clear. So I'm also going to put, excuse me. Also going to put the link in the chat so that you can have also the complete example in this case. As you can see, it is very big. Remember, we are going to, in this class, to perform also an identification project and also a logical framework matrix. Maybe in the examples we're going to discuss on Wednesday, maybe we're going only to do it for one component, right? For only one objective. Well, in this case, maybe if this was an exercise, for example, for us, maybe we are going to only do it by excellent after sales service, not maybe in the 3 component because it's going to be a little bit big and exhausted, but we are going to perform only in one output or component in this case. Everything clear about this example?
Hi, Louise. Merity made a comment in the chat. She asked a question, sorry, rather.
Okay. In the regional objective stream, there are 2 levels of ends. Is it that the goal is always the indirect ends? Okay, in the regional objective stream, there was 2 level ends. Let's see. Yeah, there was 2 level of ends, right? In this one. We have here a 1 level, I think, and this is the second level. In the case of the logical framework matrix, we use the final level. This is the final end in this case. They're also like the ends of development, right? There are the indirect ends, and finally the general ends, maybe these 3 ones. So we only use the last level, not the mid in the logical frame. Okay, we have another question. Let's see. Lawrence says, why use the final end if that's the indirect outcome of the problem? Let's see. Okay, but let's see. I am not sure, Trevor, what did you mean about the indirect outcome to the problem? In this
Can you
case,
hear me?
remember, yeah, I can hear.
Okay, so what I'm asking is just following up on Mariti's question, right? So can you just take me back to the original tree that you showed?
This one.
Yeah, so this one. So if the problem that we're trying to solve is a decrease in the customer complaints, then our focus, shouldn't it be on the first level, which would ultimately lead to an increase in profit, increase in market share, etc., instead of actually directly targeting an increase in profit? Because then, to me, it creates a disconnect between problem and what you're aiming to achieve to solve the problem.
Yeah, well, they are related, right? For example, if we choose the second level, for example, the increase in customers, the improved company image, and the strengthening of the company's competitiveness, finally, we are going to achieve also an increase in profit, an increase in market share, and also an increase in workforce motivation. So, and also, if we choose the final level, in this case, increasing profit, market share, and etc., we are going to need to solve also the increase in customer purchase, the improved company image, and the strengthening of the company's competitiveness. So, maybe this is the same for me. So, if you choose the last level, we are going to solve also the mid level, and if we choose the mid level, we are also going to solve the third level, right? So for me, it is not like a big difference in this case. So finally, they choose the last level because it's like the last frontier, right, of the objective. In this case, the main end. But if you choose, for example, this mid level, finally you are also choosing in some way the final level, right? Because one is related to the other. Do you agree?
Partially, because I'm seeing it as if you choose the final level, then you're shifting your focus from decreasing customer complaints to increasing profits. And that could be done like a number of ways, versus if you're focusing on decreasing customer complaints. When you're looking at improving your image, etc., those things would then lead to the increase in profits. Because if my objective is to increase profit, I think I can maybe expand my offerings, the amount of products I offer. I can try to enter new markets, and it takes away from the original problem of decreasing customer complaints.
Remember back then we also have a discussion back then when we established this problem tree, because when we saw the example there was like a lot of context, right? And they choose to have the central problem, this one, right? Increasing the number of complaints and claims. Some of you were not do not agree with this central problem, because maybe the central problem is not this one, maybe it's another one, right? Some of you says that the main problem was the loss of profit, for example. Some of you don't agree, right, with the main problem, but it is the example decision, right? So it is the COLUSA's decision in this case to put this as the main problem, so it's going to be the main goal later, but right? But maybe we can have like another composition of the tree that will allow us to have different effects, maybe. But in this case, in the COLUSA's objective tree and the decision they made, this was the composition of the tree, right? Right, Renee?
Yes, I'm following. Thanks.
Okay. Do you agree? Also, so.
I'm so, but yeah, I think I'm okay.
Okay. Remember also, we can have like a different opinion, no? Like I said before, this was the decision Colusa make in this example. And they decide to use the final end with this tree. Maybe we can also, I think that the outcome of deciding to use these second goals instead of the third level, again, if we use maybe the second level and not the third level, maybe the outcome is going to be very similar. Well, in this case, using, for example, if the goal here is increasing profits, maybe we use the goal increase customer purchases, maybe it's going to be very similar, no? At the end. But well, in this case, they established the goal in the third level, assuming the third level also includes the second level. So it was the decision they make in this case to make the composition of this logical framework. Another comment, questions on this logical framework matrix? Philip? All good? Okay. Okay, thank you. Philip says in the chat, yes, I am okay. Okay. So we have here, remember this also. You have in the campus this working guide that I made for you in the case of the project identification. We have here all the components that we are talking in this course. We also see these, etc., the pre-investment, the stakeholder analysis, etc. And here we also have the case of the Las Margaritas. So remember, we have this problem tree technique, this objective tree technique, and an example of the of a logical framework. In this case, we only have here like the goal level. Remember this? Maybe this. We remember this case. Here we in the working guide we have only this level, the goals. So here we have single family housing built and handed over to the project target population, information training and awareness campaign carry out, and awareness plan developed. So also here we have indicators, in this case, means of verifications, and also some assumptions. So you can also look this guide and look this example in the case of La Margaritas to study a little bit the logical framework matrix that we are seeing today. We have here also the problem tree and the objective tree that we saw also last class. So comments about this logical framework matrix methodology, etc., the examples, the video. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. Also a little bit subjective. It depends also on the team that is working in this logical framework. We can have different versions of a logical framework, also different versions of a problem tree and an objective tree, depending on the team that is working on the same project and on the same problem. So it's very important to have a big knowledge of the problem and also to have a team that made work in this scenario. So comments and questions about the logical framework matrix, people? All good, Andrew? All good, Lawrence, Renee, Joseph, Rhea, Samantha? Trevor, Valeria, Taylor. Lauren says, all good. Someone else? Same here. Anisha says in the chat, same here, all good. Trevor is writing. Trevor says, I'm good. Okay, people, so we are done for today. In the next class on Wednesday, we are going to see a little bit examples of some areas that I want to reinforce. And also we are going to discuss the next step, right? That is making groups and making also some, well, we're going to see the delivery dates of the projects that you're going to do, the document, etc. Also some dynamics of following that we're going to have like in a more private way, in a vis-a-vis way. So see you on Wednesday. Thank you very much for being here and have a very nice day.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks and bye, everyone.
Thanks, bye.